Welcome to The Explainer. Right now, we are watching Europe's political landscape shift right beneath our feet. We've got this fascinating diplomatic interception going on. Ireland stepping into a major new leadership role within the European Union, right at the exact moment Ukraine is making an urgent, aggressive push for membership. It's a massive geopolitical friction point, and honestly, we're looking at a moment that could completely redefine continental boundaries and alliances for decades to come. Let's dive in and break down exactly what's unfolding. So we are witnessing what is essentially a three-way diplomatic collision right now between Ireland, the broader European Union, and Ukraine. And to really grasp why this matters, you have to think about the sheer weight of the EU as a 27-member bloc. When a single nation, like Ireland, takes the steering wheel, they suddenly act as either a critical bottleneck or a massive accelerator for a candidate nation like Ukraine. How these three players interact over the immediate future, well, it's absolutely going to shape international politics and the entire trajectory of Eastern Europe. All right, let's get into Section 1. Ireland's new responsibility, or Ireland's new responsibility, the EU Council's new leadership. 6 months. That is the catalyst for this whole geopolitical shift. Ireland has officially stepped up to take the helm of the European Union Council. But here's the catch. It's not a permanent gig. It is a strictly 6-month rotating presidency. Now, in the typically glacial, incredibly slow-moving world of EU bureaucracy, 6 months is a blink of an eye. It sets up this relentless ticking clock. During this incredibly tight window, the nation holding the presidency has to set the legislative agenda, they chair these high-stakes ministerial meetings, and they have to broker compromises among all the member states. Basically, they dictate what gets prioritized and what gets shoved to the back burner. So, for any major diplomatic move, those 6 months are literally everything. Hearing that ticking clock, Ukraine absolutely did not wait around. Almost the second the leadership transition happened, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy executed a highly calculated diplomatic blitz. He headed straight to Ireland to sit down for crucial high-level face-to-faces with European leaders. And listen, this wasn't just a friendly courtesy call. When a candidate country's leader initiates these kinds of summits right out of the gate for a new presidency, they're trying to lock their nation's needs into the host country's agenda before a million other crises inevitably take over. Zelenskyy knows that getting Ireland's active advocacy right here, right now, is a total game-changer for keeping Ukraine at the absolute top of the European bloc's docket. Moving on to Section 2. Zelenskyy Pratyasha Odabi. Zelenskyy's expectations and demands, pushing for membership progress. So what is Ukraine's goal during this tight window? It is laser-focused. Zelenskyy is explicitly asking for Bastav Angogreho, which translates to concrete progress in EU membership discussions. And for an advanced accession candidate like Ukraine, concrete progress isn't about, symbolic handshakes or vague statements of solidarity. Not at all. In EU terms, this means formally opening and aggressively advancing specific negotiation chapters. It means doing the hard work of aligning Ukraine's domestic laws with EU standards, locking down binding financial aid, and moving definitively from just having good intentions to real, actionable institutional integration. And of course, right alongside this is the urgent plea for unwavering military and economic support from the continent just to keep things stable while all these intense negotiations are happening. Next up, Section 3, Europe's priorities and strategy. Balancing the continental agenda. But hey, diplomacy is never a one-way street, right? The new presidency has an entire continent to run. It's an incredibly delicate balancing act. On one hand, you've got Ukraine's urgent goals, fast-tracking their membership and securing that vital support. But on the other hand, you have the EU's multifaceted, really heavy burden. While they want to support Ukraine, the EU Council is simultaneously juggling some profound internal challenges. We're talking severe budget constraints across member states, intense debates over the long-term security architecture of the region, and let's not forget the lingering economic hits that ongoing conflicts have taken on European markets. The new leadership has to map out future strategic plans for the whole union, all while managing the intense friction of one nation's urgent timeline, pressing up against the massive responsibilities of 27 different countries. Which brings us to Section 4, EU Show the Padra Kotin path. The difficult path to EU membership, the reality of joining the Union. This friction between sheer urgency and deep bureaucracy really highlights the harsh reality of joining the EU. Despite all those high-level meetings and strong public statements, the geopolitical mechanics of accession are just incredibly complex. Political analysts are watching this like a hawk, firmly stating that the decisions made right now, under Ireland's 6-month watch, are highly crucial. They aren't looking for standard administrative shuffling. They are looking for fundamental shifts. Will we see unanimous declarations to speed up that legal framework alignment? Will specific long-term financial commitments actually get formalized into the EU budget? The technical groundwork laid today will absolutely dictate whether Ukraine's long-term trajectory toward membership accelerates or just stalls out entirely. And we need to be crystal clear about what that trajectory actually entails, because the hurdles, they are monumental. Step 1 requires Ukraine to push through a grueling series of formal and procedural steps, literally fundamentally restructuring parts of its own governance just to meet strict EU regulations. But Step 2? Step 2 is where the true geopolitical weight lies. To join the European Union, a candidate nation must secure unanimous consent. Think about that. Historically, getting unanimous agreement in a diverse bloc of 27 nations, each with their own domestic agendas, their own economic pressures, their own alliances, is almost impossibly difficult. It requires every single member country to agree. Just one dissenting vote, driven by any single nation's local politics, stops the entire accession process right in its tracks. So, we are looking at a profound collision course here. The ticking 6-month clock of Ireland's presidency, Ukraine's critical, urgent need for concrete progress, and the immense burden of the EU trying to balance its own security against that monumental hurdle of unanimous consent. Which really just leaves us with this massive, unresolved question. Ukraine ki pubiše European Union ka puna sedestia hote parve. Can Ukraine become a full member of the EU in the future? It is a highly complex diplomatic puzzle with absolutely no easy answers. What do you think about this delicate balancing act? Drop your thoughts below. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing, and I'll see you next time.